Friend is angry I won't help her ambush her husband after she cheated. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to give my friend her key back? I became friends with a couple, female 26, male 31, when they moved to my city about 3 years ago. I met them together and I'm closer with the wife but also still friends with the husband. About a year ago, the wife moved to another city for her job while the husband stayed behind to finish his master's. I got a call from the wife in September. She was inconsolable and said that she had a brief affair with someone, but called it off because she wanted to focus on her marriage. The affair partner did not take it well, found the husband, and told him everything in painful detail with screenshots and photo evidence. The husband was obviously blindsided and devastated. They are still in 2 separate states and the husband has gone low to no contact with the wife, asking her for space. She has been incredibly emotional since this happened. I've been in contact with her multiple times a day, even just to check in and let her know that she's loved and important, but she's understandably been a mess. I've seen the husband a few times. I let him know that the wife told me what happened and that I just wanted him to know that I'm here if he needs anything. My goal is to just be there for both of my friends and not get in the middle. To me, it comes down to some bad decisions that were made that had really painful consequences. There's no villain in this story. People are not the sum of their mistakes. Fast forward to present day where the wife was served with divorce papers. She wants to talk to him in person, but he doesn't. He agreed to FaceTime only if they do speak. She wants to fly here without telling him and show up on his doorstep to fight for the marriage. They have a door code to their apartment that they use every day. They also have a key which they gave me about a year ago when I was watching their pets. When I went to give it back to the husband, he just said to hang on to it. He let her know that he has changed the code to the door. So right now, she has no physical way to get into the apartment if he's not home. She's also concerned that he won't let her in if he knows it's her, which I don't think would be the best case, but who knows. She asked me to pick her up from the airport and give her the key so that she can get in. I said, I'm really not comfortable with it because I don't want the husband to feel like I betrayed him or was part of some sort of ambush. She's also walking in at 10 p.m. when he is not expecting anybody. I'd be really spooked if it was me. He's former military, but I just think it's not great to surprise anyone that late. I know this sounds stupid, but I suggested that if she Ubers to the apartment and he won't let her in or isn't home, I can drive her. I'm only 15 minutes away and give her the key then, but she said no. She is on the lease so she can still legally enter the apartment. So I reluctantly agreed to give her the key up front. So am I the to him if I give her the key or am I the to her if I don't give it to her up front? Well, before I tell you that you would be the a-hole, of course, if you give her the key, I'm gonna tell you that you are absolutely wrong. There is a villain in this story and that is the wife. People earn the sum of their mistakes, sure, of course, but this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an error. She made a decision to cheat on her husband. The affair partner wouldn't have gotten pissed. He would have never known. Now she just has to deal with the consequences of her actions, and that is that her husband doesn't want to stay married to her anymore. None of this is your business and your idiotic idea to go pick her up and give her the key afterwards because her name is still on the lease. Stay out of this. This has nothing to do with you. Give the key back to the husband regardless of whether he wants to have it or not and leave them be. But just to answer your question, yes, you would be the a-hole if you give her the key. So just stay out of it. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. And now let's check out the community comments. Character log 5444 says, not the a-hole for giving him the key or telling him to change the locks. Mail him the key and tell him to expect it. Do not let your friend hurt him anymore. She chose to cheat on her husband. There are consequences. Jable 222 says, if you give her the key, you are totally the a-hole. Honestly, your friend sounds toxic and she isn't respecting his boundaries. Don't join her in stomping all over this poor man's boundaries by giving her this key to ambush him. Amazing Way 4704 says, do not give her the key under any circumstances. You need to get out of the middle of this. You say you want to stay friends with both of these people. If you let her into the apartment or give her the key, that is not remaining neutral, and it would also be a really scuzzy thing to do. Don't be scuzzy. Somebody that definitely has some keyboard issues says, congratulations. You took a situation where there was a villain and an innocent party and which did not benefit from your intervention and you convinced yourself there was no villain and you wouldn't get involved. But because you're not honest about things, you've tricked yourself, got right in the middle, aided the villain and made everything 100 times worse. You must be super proud of yourself. I hope someone warns the husband about what kind of friend you are so he can avoid you and change the locks. And LifeWeird 1959 says, don't give her the key. At least tell him if you're going to. Otherwise, you're the a-hole. OP's Edit 1. I should have clarified that they were still together when they gave me the key, which is part of why I'm conflicted. She technically gave it to me with him there. She had already moved for her job when I went to give it back, and he told me to just hang on to it. Rationalizing. Are we? Edit 2. This is a difficult situation because her mental health has declined significantly since this all occurred. There have been episodes of self-harm and self-ending thoughts where she was actually making a plan and reached out to me. I was able to coordinate with one of her friends there and convinced her to admit herself to the hospital for a 48-hour hold. So her mental health has been incredibly fragile. That doesn't excuse the choices she's made in any way. During those episodes, she asked me to reach out to her husband and tell him the state she was in, and I told her no because I felt like it was manipulative. And I also felt like whether he responded or not, it would only impact her negatively. She needed to work with her therapist to help her get through this. The support I've given her has been solely regarding her mental health. I haven't engaged in any conversation with either of them about the other. She has mostly vented to me about her deep regret, remorse, guilt, and the lack of self-worth because of the choices she's made. And as her friend, I've really tried to just support her as a vulnerable human being by reminding her that we are not the sum of our mistakes, and while this is painful and has some deep consequences, she still has so much to live for. I say all this because I'm seeing a lot of comments saying that I inserted myself into the middle of this, but this all just happened today. She asked me for the key, and I told her I wasn't comfortable with that for the reasons stated in my original post. She is obviously emotional. And, again, she is technically the one that gave me the key, which is why I reluctantly agreed. But then I came here because my conscience is telling me that's not the right decision, even though I feel like I'm trying to balance a sensitive situation, which has been really intense. OP's Edit 3. First, I do want to say that I absolutely think the choices she made were wrong, and so does she. She knows she effed up and has been torturing herself over it in some really intense ways. Ways that I am absolutely not qualified to help her navigate, but have tried to be a supportive friend through it because of the immediacy and severity of the help she needed at the time. Thanks to everyone for the perspective. I think I have been so worried about her emotional state over the last few months that I've been too close to it to see what some of you are saying and that she's being a bit manipulative with me, especially when I told her I wasn't comfortable giving her the key. I'm going to call her tomorrow and let her know that I'm not giving it to her. I really appreciate the snap out of it slap a lot of you provided. Well, after much rationalization, OP finally understood what the community was trying to tell her. So let's move on to the update to see how OP handled it. I let her know this morning that I wouldn't be giving her the key. As many of you predicted, she instantly responded with complete vitriol. No discussion. No. Please reconsider. None of that. Just straight to, I can't believe you right now. I can't rely on anyone. Thanks a lot. Fine. You will regret it. That last one was a bit unexpected. I probably would have been shocked if I hadn't read the feedback on this post beforehand. So I was honestly unfazed and just responded that I don't support what she's trying to do. And like a few people mentioned, if roles were reversed and the husband was asking me to do this, I would. Unfortunately, she is the one that has ruined everything with the decisions she's made in the past, and that it's time for her to start taking accountability and stop looking for people to blame. I also told her that I would be giving the key back to the husband and letting him know what she was planning. She lost it. Lots of swearing, lots of self-pity, threats of self-harm, and then said I wasn't a good friend to her. That's when I had enough. I told her I was done being a punching bag for her and that I know I've been a good friend to her when no one else was supporting her and I saw her through some dark times. I said her selfishness had finally crossed the line with me. I ended it by saying that she's in a dangerous state of mind and that she should reach out to her therapists and share our conversation so she can give her an objective view of it. I let her know that she needed help that I can no longer give and that I was done. She sent me 2 apology texts about 5 minutes later, but I haven't responded and don't plan to. If she somehow shows up at my door, if she flies in tomorrow, I won't be answering. Also, to update on the husband, I let him know everything this morning. We're good, and we made plans to give him back the key. She's supposed to fly in tomorrow night and leave Saturday. He actually won't be in town this weekend. Well, eventually, you made the right decision. So good for you. And there's a learning in here. When people try to drive you into their issues, you try to get away from them. Take care, OP, and thanks for sharing. Now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit MID a hole, and it's by user aggressive mess 4236. Am I the a-hole for becoming a stay-at-home parent when I did not support my ex being stay-at-home? I, 33 male, share a 3-year-old son with my ex, 29 female. We broke up before our son was born. One of the reasons we broke up was her insistence on being stay-at-home until our child reached school age at least. Obviously, she needs to stay home for the month after the birth to recover. But once she was recovered, I did not support her continuing to not work. I did not want a relationship where she was financially dependent on me. We also disagreed on concepts like gender roles within the family. We both had been rather progressive. After getting pregnant, she started expounding a lot more traditional views. In any case, our son is born and we co-parent. We have 50/50 custody, But I make more than my ex, so I pay health insurance, childcare and child support. Now, tragically, a year after my son was born, my mother was killed in an accident by a semi-truck. My twin brother, who himself is a family law and divorce attorney, has one of his school classmates look into the accident. Turns out, the semi-driver was over the federal allowed hours to drive. As you can imagine, this really affects my perspective on things. We end up getting a substantial settlement. I decided to take a step back from my career. I am an accountant. I sign a freelance contract with my firm that gives me the flexibility to be with my son as much as I want. I still pay for insurance, childcare, and support. Note, the settlement has no impact on my child support. Trust me. I have had the best family law firm in the state look into it. But on my time, I usually keep him with me and we spend the day together going to the park, museums, library, etc. My ex has expressed her frustration at my hypocrisy. She says I am now a stay-at-home parent but would not let her be one. I told her the situations are different because my situation does not involve me being financially dependent on anyone. That was my chief concern with her doing it. This is causing issues in our co-parent relationship. Am I the a-hole? First of all, OP, I'm so sorry for what happened to your mom. That must have been a horrible experience. Now to your situation, no Boppy, you're not the a-hole. Your logic is absolutely sound. At least it is to me. You told her that you didn't agree on her being a stay-at-home parent because, well, you didn't want her to be dependent financially on you. A stay-at-home parent is something both partners need to agree on, but your situation is absolutely different. You have the ability to choose to be a stay-at-home parent because you don't have a financial dependency. So no, OP, you're not the a-hole. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Mother Search 3350 says, you are not a stay-at-home parent. You are employed on a flexible contract that allows you to be fully present with your son during your custody time. What's the issue here? Appropriate East 8621 says, I can definitely understand her frustration and jealousy. You're living the life she wanted by being able to stay home, however you're still working. But that doesn't make you, and you're doing what's best for you and your child. She shouldn't be taking her frustration out on you. While I get it, it's not fair to you and it's a completely different situation. You didn't want another dependent, which is understandable. She's definitely the a-hole here, not the a-hole. Susie Brooks says, I was a stay-at-home mom. It was hard but fulfilling. But here's the thing. It left me trapped in a bad situation. Oh, you were right to insist your ex stick to the original agreement, and it was unfair of her to use emotional blackmail to try to force her wishes on you like that. That must have been very difficult. Having your partner dependent on you is not good for either one. If your ex has been willing to honor your original agreement, you two could have stayed together. And Letting Durian 5855 says, I am not going to say you or Anne, but you had a baby with someone, and after getting her pregnant bailed because she wanted time to raise her child and not have work take precedent over being able to mother her child. Now you get that privilege after looking down on her for wanting that. Of course, it hurts her. Her feelings are valid. Again, can't really say you're in with the little information given, but she's definitely not for feeling hurt. Just because women can do it all doesn't mean we all want to do it all. Some of us do genuinely just want to be mothers and wives, just not without the abuse and control those roles used to come with. And OP responds, where are you getting looked down on for wanting to stay home? As I stated, my disagreement with it is because she would be financially dependent on me. I have no problem whatsoever with the desire to stay at home with kids. And before we got pregnant, she very much indicated that she wanted to work after she physically recovered. Then after getting pregnant, she told me, I am staying home until kindergarten. When you have an agreement and your partner changes the agreement while completely dismissing your feelings, that will cause a breakup. If I had known all this, I would have said we should not have a baby and break up so she could find someone who wanted that. Additional information from Ops comments. Just to clarify, as some of you didn't understand what I wrote, I didn't deny her the opportunity. Her demand was to be a stay-at-home parent until kindergarten at least. I said, we did not agree to that, but let's talk. My plan was after 4 to 6 months of her being stay-at-home, let's reassess. She refused that suggestion. She planned to put him in daycare part-time and I suggested she work while he was in daycare. That was refused. We agreed for her to have a time period of being stay-at-home. She wanted to make that period a minimum of 5 years. I was not on board. After 5 months of that, we broke up. I still fully supported her financially for the 5 months she was out of work after the birth. I did not want a relationship where she was financially dependent on me for the future. She told me prior to the pregnancy that she did not want that either. She reversed course once she got pregnant. She started expressing views that she wanted a traditional relationship where I worked and she stayed home for all our kids. There are men who want that with their partner. I'm not one of those men. That is why we broke up. I have not refused a single request ever for something for my child. And I never would, but her being stay-at-home is about what she wanted. Well, the top comments agree that OP is not the a-hole, although there is a lot of different opinions going on. Anyways, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Tensions between my ex and I have been high over the last month or so. This morning, when we did the custody exchange, she invited me in and wanted to talk to me. Some context. My ex does not have a flex job where she could do part-time and make the same pay rate. She is a manager at a restaurant. Additionally, she has a new boyfriend who himself has a child, and they are trying to have a child together. At the time of our conversation detailed in the original post, she had just found out that she was pregnant and they had crunched the numbers and realized they could not afford for her to take off more than 5 weeks as she has personal time off. So she was quite upset about that and lashed out at me. She apologized. I told her I forgive her and understand why she was upset.